In lacrosse, defensive positioning is much more important than stick checking. This video will show you how to teach players to use their body and stick position to contain the attacker and force her to make a poor choice, which can result in a turnover.
Defensive positioning should always be taught first and practiced constantly. Stick checking can always be mastered later, but if players don't learn to position properly and move their feet, stick checking is useless to them and dangerous to others.
Hi, I'm Kelly Berger. Defensive stance and positioning.
Individual defense is the basis for all other team defensive concepts. When a team is not in possession of the ball, they are on defense, and every player on the team must have a strong understanding of individual defensive concepts. In the modern game of lacrosse, every player in the field is playing defense when their team is not in possession of the ball. Defenders want to take something away from the ball carrier, such as a strong pass, a lane to the middle of the field, or a good angle from which to shoot. The main job of a defender is to contain an offensive player by keeping her in between her shoulders. Having a strong defensive stance and solid defensive positioning allows a defender to contain her opponent and force her to an area she chooses. Containing is far more important than checking. Defensive stance. A strong defensive stance is the cornerstone to effective defensive positioning and the cornerstone to containing an attack player. A defender needs to maintain her center with balanced body weight. Her knees are slightly bent and her butt is tucked in, similar to being in a sitting position. Maintain her balance by keeping her feet and hips under her shoulders. The defender's arm position is summed up by arms away, elbows locked. Short steps, not long strides, ensure balance and quick change of direction. Footwork is the key to success for all defenders. Coaching tip. To maintain a strong defensive stance and prevent getting faked out and thrown off balance, a defender needs to focus on her opponent's midsection, her belly button, not her head, shoulders, or stick. Stick position. The stick is an extension of the defender. She needs to keep it under control and use it wisely. Stick position is important in maintaining a strong defensive stance. The stick should be straight up and down, or slightly off to the left or right, at 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Avoid the shopping cart defense, where the stick is at hip level and parallel to the ground, like you were pushing a shopping cart. Defenders need to pay attention to the angles of their sticks. They can't be thrust too far forward or pulled too far back. Defenders grip their sticks with their top hands about 2/3 of the way down the shaft and with a firm bottom hand at the bottom. A defender's balance and speed can be adversely affected by a grip that's spread out rather than compact. The top hand is the guide and the bottom the control. On-ball defenders should always have 2 hands on the stick. Off-ball defenders should have their bottom hand on the stick and have the stick up in the passing lane. Good defenders are always looking to knock down a pass that has been thrown poorly and gain control of the ball. Coaching tip. To demonstrate how important it is for a defender to keep her stick up and to instill good habits in your players, make a rule of practice that everyone has to keep their stick up. When the coach is talking to the team, in line waiting to get into a drill, while standing on the sideline, etc. Maintaining balance. Keeping an opponent in between your shoulders depends on your being able to move your feet with quick, short steps and keeping your feet and hips underneath the shoulders as you move. This, along with keeping the top hand slid 2/3 of the way down the stick and arms away and elbows locked, puts you in a strong defensive stance. As a defender, you're entitled to that space between your chest and stick. Guard that space because that's how you are able to control the attack player. If a defender bends her elbows and hugs her stick, breaks her arms, and loses that space in between her chest and stick, she's less able to control the attacker and more vulnerable to getting beat. Take something away. With their defensive stance, defenders want to take something away from the attackers. Teach your defenders to not concede a path to the goal, step up with either their left or right foot as the attacker challenges, to dictate to the attacker where the defender wants her to go. Avoid opening up their hips and allowing the attacker to drive to the cage. Avoid backing up toward the goalkeeper. The on-ball defender must be listening for her teammates to tell her where the help is and must also listen for her goalie's directions. Defenders are responsible for marking or guarding offensive players. Defenders' primary objective is to control offensive players and keep them from scoring, but not at any cost. The focus needs to be on body-to-body contact. For example, using a forearm or knuckles to control an offensive player and not stick-to-body contact. It is a major foul if a player initiates stick-to-body or body-to-stick contact. A defender is entitled to her space. If she's able to lock onto her attacker and, using controlled body-to-body contact, dictate where that attacker can go, then she's playing solid, under control defense. She is guiding the attack player with her body, with her feet, her defensive positioning, and her forearm or knuckles. If defenders weren't able or allowed to touch opponents, then attackers would drive down the field unimpeded and go to goal at will. However, coaches, players, and officials all need to take responsibility to make sure players are focusing on body-to-body defense instead of stick-to-body. Through well-executed individual defensive positioning, defenders can influence the movements of an offensive player with the ball by forcing her into a double team, to take a poor angle shot, to her non-dominant side. When running with the ball carrier in the midfield or in transition, the defender positions herself to the side of the ball carrier, on the ball carrier's hip, shoulders almost square to the ball carrier. The defender's arms are away from her body with elbows locked, keeping space between the chest and stick. The top hand is slid 2/3 of the way down the stick, and the stick is straight up and down, ready to pass or block a shot, or to make contact using knuckles or forearm. The defender's feet are traveling in the same direction as the attackers. If a defender gets beat, encourage her to recover by catching up to where her opponent is going first, and then reestablishing good body position. Avoid checking or swinging while recovering.